why volunteer with NLI? Well, first off, I want to mention, like, what do I consider NLI to be? I consider it a very loose, laissez-faire type of free system that people can utilize for whatever benefit they find and discard what they don't want. Okay, so you can utilize, do whatever you want, combine with what you don't want. But we want to educate Intactivists, and we want to organize ourselves. So we want to organize ourselves around creating opportunities that are higher value for Intactivists than what we have presently and available to us. Whether it's social media, if you've noticed that our likes on social media, our shares on social media, the people we have reading our emails are vastly lowered compared to what it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So basically what we have is a system of shadow ban where these organizations that benefit from keeping this information out of people's hands, they utilize algorithms and different types of systems to limit the ability of people to create social change on these platforms. So it's really about the general norm, and of course we're going against a social norm. So a lot of times we'll get banned or something like that. So low class cutters, are you tired of having debates with somebody who's just has no class, no education, no value, and maybe they have a child, maybe you can influence them, maybe not, but most likely not. Of course, there is the benefit of seating and maybe other people reading the protest of things, but the truth fact of the matter is social media is just really not the end all be all when it comes to Intactivism. And what I call it, it's kind of like going to the ocean, spitting in the ocean. Okay, yeah, you may spit on one crab, but you're not going to do much. I would rather go to a pond and explode a stick of dynamite, and that's what the gathering the database allows us to do, and then the outreach stuff allows us to do. Okay, so we do this because so many of us are getting burnt out. We're tired of having these low class debates with people that are just the lowest form of humanity you can possibly imagine. I mean, you get that in your heart enough times, and it just starts to drag you down and influences you in a negative way. And that, in my opinion, is affecting your ability to really be effective and efficient with Intactivism. So we really need to be aware of this and give Intactivists other options. And we want to reach far more people and save far more babies. So if you want to do that, you're in the right place. Okay, high value targets. The difference between a high value target is they're more aware, often more educated. They're more aware. They're more likely to question dominant paradigms. They've taken sociology, psychology, logic, probably been in a debate class. They've taken the foundations that would allow one to see this for what it really is. And a huge bit of my ability to understand this has been just understanding how just taking Sociology 101, such a valuable course in school. I wish we would teach that to high school students, because that's when they really need to know that stuff about how these types of behaviors and beliefs become part of our thought processes. Okay, they're more likely to quickly question dominant paradigms. You're going to have much better conversations. I had a conversation, I've mentioned this a couple times, with I was like looking at UTIs, and I was like, okay, what's the real, let me read all these studies that supposedly say that there's some benefit to UTIs. And so I started going down the UTI rabbit hole. It's like, it's really ridiculous. Self-referencing, and it's just circular referencing, and it's just the weakest studies. And there's this one study that was just kind of particularly ridiculous, and it showed some small ridiculous benefit to UTIs, and it was a study anyway. I found one of the researchers' names, and I followed her link to a phone number on a website. And I was like, wow, I have a phone number of this person that did this. I'm gonna call this person. I'm gonna give her a piece of my mind. But when she listened to me, I said, this harmed me. This has harmed my life. This harmed my experience of life. This harmed my psychology. And this damaged me. And she said, I'm sorry, and proceeded to apologize. I could hear the emotion in her voice. And then she said, at the end of the phone conversation, she said, I'm a professor at such and such, I think it's University of Tennessee. I teach pediatricians. I have a series of folders that I give all of my pediatrician students. I can include any educational material you have in this folder that all my medical students will have access to. And that was her way of compensating, I think, a little bit. But she was, I was aware that she was aware of how this, she was in tune, I guess, empathetic towards me, right? Which was rare. I don't get that a lot. So, and this was a researcher who now has access to Sorrells, Taylor, Colvin, Lockwood, the basics, the fundamental basics that educate you about the true anatomy of what we're missing. Okay, so just that example alone, imagine if you had 10 of those conversations over the next 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Imagine just having one of those conversations every 2 weeks. Imagine doing that. This lady may have, through her, I may have been able to save thousands of babies through doctors that are not going to be mutilating, right? I may have had an influence on them. So to me, it's like, why are we doing this social media, things that are harming our psychology, that are making us feel like shit? We could have conversations that are uplifting, make you feel amazing, and you're talking to an educated person who is unaware, and they need to be aware of this. You're doing them a favor, right? This is the best information you can give anybody that has the potential to do this to a child, because these children are going to grow up. There's good people out there and they don't have access to information. We need to give this information to these people. So potential high value targets. We started with the media because, we were doing protests, and very little media was showing up to our protests, and very little effort was made to contact the media. So we decided that if we're going to send Intactivist money out there to do protests, that we need to make sure that those efforts are milked to the fullest potential. We have in the past have gotten over 20 articles published. We have been influential in it. I can't say that we were the only reason those were published, because some of them were published because of other organizations, but we were the ones that outreached these organizations and caused a massive increase in the number of articles published by that organization, which was phenomenal. We had 20 articles published. That's a huge potential of outreach. Okay, so this does work. It already works. It can't not work, right? There's going to be some people you're run into. They're just the lowest class people, and even though they're educated or whatever, they're just the most entrenched, and they're not going to budge. But there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people, and let's say out of these people, Paul mentions about 20%. 20% of sales, you're going to have an influence. Okay, 20%. If we had a 20% influence on the people that we contact, my God, what are we waiting for? This is what we're looking for. Okay, so anyways, right now we've got 7 different states completely done. That means everything we can find on the internet, probably 95% of anything, any contact information on media organizations or outlets within those 7 states. And that's, I can't remember them all, but I know California is the biggest one that we've got done. It's 1,200 media outlets. We got them all categorized, all completed. Brett Johnson, who's on the phone call, by the way, is the person that kind of started this system. He's the one that actually started creating it, and then I kind of took it over. So thank you, Brett. Brett runs an organization called cockfight.org. Say what's up, Brett.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Brett. Brett, by the way, is the first person I ever protested. He came because I was in Columbia, Missouri for the True False Festival. And Brett was in Kansas City, Missouri. So Brett came to Columbia, Missouri, and I was telling people about this a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. The look on those people's faces, right, Brett? Like, these are like the educated, professional, like liberal class, right? It's True False Festival, huge independent film festival in Columbia, Missouri, at the university, which is a huge university. And and we went there with sign. Here's these supposedly educated people who know every outside the box issue of civil rights in society that could possibly be. These are the ones that are the ones that are.
That was fun.
Yeah, and
that was a great idea. Yeah.
They looked at us like we were like. I mean, it was like shock to them. Because they were like, wait, there's a big, huge issue that we're unaware of right under our noses. That's probably one of the worst issues that we've ever just uncovered, and we don't even know about it. It was just like shocking to these people. It was great. anyways, let's get back to the list. So we got the high value targets. We got reporters, editors, publishers, producers. We've got doulas and midwives. Michelle is working on the doulas and midwives in Colorado. We have Lee working on the doulas and midwives in New York. Anybody that wants to jump on any of this stuff, feel free to contact me. That's why we're doing this stuff, is we need the volunteers. I'll explain how the volunteers will work soon. Okay, so here's the list: religious leaders, parental groups, other activists, child psychologists, injury lawyers, medical professionals, university professors. The reason why we did media first was because we were doing protests in towns and we wanted the media to come, right? And of course, who's going to be writing the papers about this stuff as media, as articles or things of potential for media or value to media, you know. So we want to make sure that the media is educated, so we don't get these, oh, but the AAP says da 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 da, or you know, there's benefits of UTIs, balanitis, phimosis, or any of this other, you know, just the ridiculousness that we get. We want to get that out of these articles. Now, one of the interesting things is Brett read this article. Remember that? Trying to remember the name of it. It's like WEK or something, like WEP or whatever. It's an organization in Florida. I sent him an email, and this was not the kumbaya, let's hold hands. I'm gonna, you know, I'm a professional, and here's the educational system. It's nothing like that. I wrote that email to be emotionally outraging. I wanted to get the reporters to feel that there's, you know, that there's something here grave, that there's a real something here. I wanted to be the squeaky wheel. And from that email, we got 20 articles printed. And so anyways, so if you want to join us, what I would say is fill out our questionnaire. This gives us an idea of where to place you, you know, what your interests are, what time availability you have, and any special skills and talents that you can contribute. One of the things I do need, thank you, Sarah, is someone to help me with editing. I could really benefit from editing. Anyone that does sales, anybody that writes, anybody that's like, you know, if you're good at poetry, if you're good at writing, if you're good at communicating, if you're good at influencing, you know, we need your skills. So please let us know. So anyways, we want to use any special skills and talents you can contribute. So for example, Paul, he's going to contribute his sales expertise and vastly improve our ability to influence people. We had Reed, who's taking a break for personal reasons, who is developing a software system to help us gather data so that we can have easier access to data, which is hopefully we'll be getting that in the future. So, but Reed's, hopefully he'll be coming back to us eventually. But anyways, that's where we're at. Okay, so fill out the questionnaire. Once you fill out the questionnaire, what I want you to, some more, if you want more information, you can read our volunteer page to find out more about kind of what we're doing. You can self-brand yourself with this. I don't think that if you join us on a phone call or if you contribute to us in any way that you're a part of something that you're, oh, now you're NLI or something like that. Like, I don't want it to be like that. This is like a very loose group of Intactivists who just want to help each other out. So there's no, like, you're not stuck in some, you know, thing. So if you create a system, right? If you say, hey, I want to outreach to somebody, you can create your own brand, you can make it your own, you can create your own organization, you can do whatever you want, okay? What we want to do is we want to get Intactivists doing this effective and efficient action, whether or not they're contributing like directly with us, or they're involved with us, or they even use our campaigns. We create turnkey systems that you can use to create high value, effective, and efficient educational outreach. So what I mean by turnkey systems is if somebody wants to join us, what we do is we can create a database for you, whatever your interests are, you know, whatever your focus wants, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to focus. We want to utilize your ideas as well. Like, you know, whatever good ideas you have, this is your ability to contribute to Intactivism. What we want to do is we want to support every Intactivist who we can benefit. Okay, so whatever benefit we can provide, whatever way we can provide it, that's who we want to be. So what I mean by turnkey is if you jump on this, say, I want to do this, you get a database that's already set up for you. You have campaigns that are already written for you. You have Tele-Intactivism scripts that are already done for you. You have everything you need to get out there and reach thousands and save thousands of babies. Every person that does this, in my opinion, will be responsible for thousands of babies through the butterfly effect. Just right now, if we just had, like, let's say we were 3 campaigns into the Doulas and Midwives database, into the Doulas and Midwives right here. Who's more valuable than a doula midwife? First off, they're easy to access. Okay, it's very hard to get a hold of pediatricians. Okay, it's very hard. They're behind a little wall of receptionists and appointment setting and all that other stuff, right? Midwives and doulas are business owners that are trying to get their business. They're marketing their business. They're very easy to connect and approach with, right? Because they want to have business, right? They're going to answer the phone calls. So they're a very high value target. They're going to have immediate influence on saving babies. Immediately they're going to start saving babies. So you're going to meet that one doula, and she's going to soak this up and she's going to run with it, just like we would have done if we were that doula, right? There's people out there that are just like you, and they're doulas and midwives. We just need to educate them. We need to give them this information. Michelle talked a lot about giving the doulas and midwives education so that they themselves can learn how to approach this subject with their own clientele and be stronger and more secure and confident in their ability to do so, to advocate for their patient, because their primary patient is not the parent, it's the child. Same for the doctor. So anyways, the doulas and midwives, I think immediately you can start saving thousands of babies. Well, if I had, how many doulas and midwives are there across the United States? If I had 1,000 Intactivists doing this, they could all be busy right now. We could have an Intactivist in every state. What is that, 50 Intactivists running these programs? So, and you're not going to run out of people to call, emails to send. You're not going to, if you get to gather the database, you're going to have lots and lots to do, okay? And we already have that. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, hey, I don't want to sit there and gather database, because I'm not going to do it. Okay, well, okay, cool. Well, guess what? We already have databases done. Help us send campaigns. Help us send these emails out to these large numbers of media organizations. Help us make these phone calls once we've sent out these campaigns. So the way we're going to do it, we run out 5 or 6 campaigns, 5 or 6 emails, which is a full campaign, and then we make the phone calls. Okay. There's other things you can do. You don't have to do the 3 phases either. Like I said, Paul's helping us with educating Intactivists and sales techniques. Reed's helping us with data, with software development, so that we can gather information more easily. So you don't have to do this. You have your own talents, your own skills, your own ideas, your own thoughts, your own contributions, and each one of us can have such a huge influence utilizing this system, utilizing these ideas. I think it's time that we really take a new look at how we're doing Intactivism and utilize these options. Okay, so support. We help create the database. We teach you how to fill it out. If you need help sending, we can get volunteers. If you don't feel comfortable doing Tele-Intactivism, we can get volunteers to make phone calls to your list. We create campaigns for you. We create the campaigns for you. Our website has a blog, so the website's there to support you. The blog, you can reference it to other Intactivists. You can utilize some of the educational information on there to send to people. So we will educate you on how to influence through phone calls, how to gather data, and any questions you may have. We are here to make you better. Okay, so that's the idea of what we're doing. Someone may disagree with some portions of what we're doing, and that's okay. You still have a valuable input into what we're doing. Even if you don't agree with some of the things I've said, or it's a process and an evolution. So when we're approaching these things, we have to approach it the right way. So it's not like you just go out there and just attack people. You really have to build a connection with them first, or at least make that effort to really create a bridge between you and that person, to give them the opportunity. And it's also important that you realize that you give them the same ability that it took you to realize this. Like it took me, I'm still uncovering this, you know what I mean? Like I've been studying this for 7 years. So, and I've been studying this a lot for 7 years. I've done a lot of study into this area. And it really took me a long time to really understand how damaging it is, because it's so easy to say, hey, nobody complains. How would you have all these problems if nobody even has an issue, right? And the fact is, we're just not even aware of what the issues are that we're causing. And you can have psychological damage and never even know it. You can have sexual loss and not even know it. If you don't miss, if you're missing the tissue, how are you going to have, you don't have any frame of reference, of course. And as far as NLI, as far as taking money, like Brett's organization, cockfight.org, please donate to cockfight.org. Brett needs your money. He's going to utilize it for an extremely important youth outreach, which is the young adult outreach program that he's creating, utilizing humor and reaching young adults, called cockfight.org. And it's fantastic. And so what I don't want to do is, I didn't want to create an organization that would compete against Brett and say, hey, I need to take my donations. I'm not going to say Brett needs donations, because I'm the one that needs donations, because I got to build this. What I didn't want is to do that, because now I'm at odds with Intactivist organizations instead of in contribution with them. And so what I decided to do is, I'm sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
I think that's the struggle for Your Whole Baby with our tactics. There's a financial component that we're not able to meet. So ideally, Your Whole Baby would like to send packets to every pediatrician, every daycare center. You know, we have our infrastructure, we would be able to do that. But now at this point, it's based on donation, it's based on a family request, someone funding that process. So that is the one thing about what this particular outreach is it does. It still gives us the opportunity to protest. It still gives me the opportunity to table with Your Whole Baby. We would then be promoting those events through this outreach. So for those of us that can't travel and participate in that capacity, we're at home, we're cleaning up the social media fallout that's happening from the protests and that, but we're doing prep work the weeks leading up to it. You know, when Brett goes to wherever he's going in the fall, I literally feel like those weeks we would be diverting our attention to doing outreach into those campuses, to those media outlets there in those areas, to kind of get the buzz going for those type of events.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is, yeah, because we should have, in my opinion, every Intactivist event that ever happens should have a media outreach program for it, as long as it's, you know, something slightly worthy of potential media coverage. I mean, even one Intactivist on the street protesting, I think, is a valuable. And
the other benefit I see to this type of Intactivism, Sarah, and what appeals to me also is that we are taking this to the professionals. We are done arguing with parents and, you know, degrading them when the survey shows that they are being solicited up to 8 times. And my foster daughter that was 18 years old that just delivered a baby boy last May said her pediatrician rounded on her daily to ask her. And so I'm getting ready right now, when I resign from my hospital on the 16th, to get ready to draft a complaint. So when I say that we are getting ready with this type of Intactivism to go to take this message to the professionals and one by one hold them accountable, what I envision us doing in a sense is kind of gathering in therapists that are certified, or we have verified that they are versed enough to provide trauma-informed care to our families and our men that have been harmed by this, and make it, you know, kind of selling to them the fact that we're going to provide you referrals. So it would be in your best interest to get well-versed, because we as Intactivists are going to open this can of worms, and we're going to have a whole society of men that need trauma-informed care. Are you ready to rise to that challenge? That is what appeals to me about this, is because, yes, online, yes, we're reaching who knows how many people. We don't really know. We don't know how to measure that. But this way, when we have concrete data, we're going to somehow figure out a way to measure it. We're going to hold these professionals accountable. I think that it's needed now. You know, it's needed at this point in the game, especially because we are limited by our face-to-face outreach because of COVID right now, and just the logistics of us all trying to get together and do something. You know, this is a way that is a time commitment, not a financial commitment. Mm-hmm. And we're supporting those that are putting forth the financial commitment, doing the legwork in the front line. So
yeah, see, Brett needs money. Brett needs money, but I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I made the website. That's my contribution. My contribution was paying for the website, paying for the software that I had to create it, paying for the Zoom to have these phone calls. That's my donation to Intactivism. And so I do it through, I wanted to create a system that's completely I talked to David Wilson about this when I was at the AAP in 2018, and he mentioned that, you know, I don't know if you know who David Wilson is. He's kind of like a longtime Intactivist, but he's been through all the history of Intactivism. So he's seen, and he basically had a conversation with me. One of the reasons I really believe that this is the right way to approach things. And he said that all these groups, right, they have all these really good ideas and they had really good cohesion at the very beginning, but then different people started to have different ideas. They fractioned, they became this separate group, and they needed to get donations. And this group fractioned, they became this third group. And now 3 organizations are trying to get donations, and they became 4 or 5, whatever. And they're just diluting the pool, right? And they're taking away from each other. They're in this adversary type of competing role. And to me, that seemed counterproductive for the whole, what we're trying to do. And I know we've heard that, you know, it's very hard to get volunteers who are committed. And I agree with that. Like, I'm not looking for, you know, a massive number of Intactivists. What I'm looking for is a small number of really dedicated people that are not going to waste my time. They're going to take the time that I spend on them and utilize that to be more themselves, as opposed to, hey, I'm just going to, you know, take your time and then I'm just not going to do anything with it, right? Because that's going to waste my time. It's going to take me away from teaching somebody who then could go out and save thousands of babies. So literally, you cost me thousands of babies. So the way I look at this is it's kind of like a system that's already, you know, turnkey. It's completely ready for someone to jump right in, but also at whatever level they're willing to contribute. Like, nobody has to become run a whole state and do a Doulas Midwives of a whole state. What you could do is join one of us who are already doing something. We already have Intactivists doing the work. You know, jump in on the Doulas Midwives database. Do some more work in another state or whatever. But, you know, anything that you do is going to contribute to the whole, and it doesn't have to be a huge time commitment. What I say is, if you commit to at least 15 minutes a day or 2 hours a week, you can do a 2-hour minimum. If you can do 2 hours a week, don't waste my time. I don't have time to talk with you. I have time. I have to do so much. Like, I don't have time to mess around. Like, I have to make my time efficient because I have to reach people. And so what I need is, I don't want people to call me and say, oh, I'm kind of committed, but I'm not really. Don't waste my time. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, if you're committed, jump, fill out the questionnaire. Let's get started. The motivation for this is not, I'm not going to sing your praises or give you some candy or something like that. What your motivation is, you're going to save babies. And that's your motivation is how that's going to make you feel. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nothing's going to happen unless people start doing something. So, everyone's like, oh, I want to help. I want to do something. I want to do something. But like, when it comes down to it and they actually have to do something, they don't want to do it anymore.
Exactly.
It just seems like, because it's work, but it's like, well, you're complaining about it, but who's going to do it? And someone's got to do it.
Well, talking about doing it and doing it are two different things. And,
right.
There's some high value to creating YouTube channels, so sending out posts on social media. Those are very valuable things. The people that are content creators those are valuable, and people are considering this and discussing this are valuable. But we need people that are doing action, and that's what we're about. Is like, that's why I say, like, we're activated Intactivists. We're activated, meaning we're physically, or we're working towards a goal. We're not just talking about it. We're actually doing things. We're actually writing and creating and contacting and making phone calls and sending emails and literally doing the work. And that's what we need. We've talked about this a lot in Intactivism. I don't know how many conversations I've had with amazing Intactivists, and so many wonderful ideas sprout off into the space, into the ether, and just get lost into the entropy. And the fact is that these great ideas, unless we put them into use, they're of no value. You've probably heard that knowledge is useless without application. And the proper application of knowledge is wisdom. And so knowledge is worthless without wisdom, unless you can apply it in a way that's valuable. And so that's why I think this is so important, because, we are going to literally save thousands of babies with this system. Everybody that contributes to this, you personally, you yourself can save thousands just doing what I'm going to teach you, just doing the system that's already there. It's already done, turnkey, ready to go. I'm writing a book as we're doing this. This is going to be a book. All these campaigns are going to be chapters in a book that in the end. And, we're creating this so to educate people and get this information out there. Okay, and then we're approaching the people that need to hear this and giving them the information. That's why I think it's so valuable to do this type of work. Okay, so that's kind of like the volunteer options, and I really wanted people to understand, you know, where we're coming from and what we're doing. You know, a lot of people just, you know, I want you to understand that this is your potential. This is the sky is the limit. You know what I mean? You're only limited by your own efforts and your own potential. Okay, help share this. Get people doing this. Okay. If you know Intactivists that are, you know, they're tired of all the bullshit with Intactivism, they're tired of low-class cutters, they're tired of, you know, debates that, you know, maybe save one or two children. I mean, it's great. Like, I'm not lying. I mean, I would do everything I've done over my entire time that I've done this for one child. If I knew that I was only going to save one child, I would do it all again to save one child.
I know.
But why not save thousands, right? If we can maximize our potential and reach a different level than what we've been doing in the past, then, you know, I don't see it happening any other way. What I see and what I don't want to happen is that slow stizzle that's happening in Canada and Australia, because there's no validation, there's no reparations, there's no legal recourse, there's still no legal recourse to the victims, there's no understanding of the psychological damage or how this has influenced our culture whatsoever. It's really crazy. But so this is very strong options for you guys, and I really want you to take this and run with it. You know, ask any questions you have. We are here to support you. Don't feel like you're alone when you're doing this. Is we want everybody to feel like, hey, I'm not just alone doing this. You know what I mean? Because I think it creates motivation to feel like, you know, hey, I'm part of a group. I'm doing something that's influential. Okay, so this is important because the goal of the first Tele-Intactivism phone call is very, very important that we approach this the correct way. So the main goal of the phone call is really to establish contact and to develop at least a baseline of where this person is at. Okay, so you're establishing contact. What you want to have is you want to have a good first impression. You know, you've heard that a million times. Treat this like you're going to a job interview. Don't approach this as I'm going to attack this person. Okay, approach this as I'm going to help this person along a journey, and then I got to give them little steps along the way that help them to approach this or to understand this in a way that they should. Okay, so we want to establish a positive connection. We want to develop rapport. Okay, first response, you want to listen intently. Okay, listening is one of the hardest skills when it comes to this, and it's one of the most important skills. Try not to judge them even if they're connected to a false belief. Okay, remember, this is your first contact. We need to give them time to absorb this information. Listen to the words used. Okay, pay attention to the words they use, because you're going to use them and you're going to feed back their words to them. When you feed back the same words a person uses, they know that you're listening, and it connects with them on a deeper level than if you use different words. So might as well use the same. Okay, so people are different. They respond differently. They're going to answer the questions differently. So some of the things to look for are they move towards person or they move away from person. Okay, some people move towards a goal. Okay, they're motivated by reaching the end, reaching the goal. Okay, some people are motivated by moving away from pain. Okay, maybe they're in pain, they have to move forward in order to get out of pain. So people are motivated by different ways. So listen to their words. Are they more motivated by pain or are they more motivated by progress? One of the interesting things is that I've heard this recently. I'm not sure. I think it was from Brandon Murata, that women are more, when you're approaching this subject with women, is you want to be more emotional. You want to connect with them emotionally. Whereas with men, you want to create a sense of opportunity to do something. You want to create a sense of, here's a problem and here's an option for you to do something about it. You want to give them options, right? So approach men and women differently. They depend on, everybody's different, you know, so you have to pay attention to the person. Listen to sensory words. You can listen to auditory words. I hear this, it sounds like this, okay? Kinesthetic words, I feel this, it felt like this. Visual words is I see, this is how I perceive things, it looks like this, okay? Use their words back to them. It helps them know you're listening. Okay, so you want to gather information. This is not set in stone again. This is all up for grabs. So anything you guys see in here, any additions, subtractions, all up for grabs. One of the things I think is important is that everybody having full agreement with what, I mean, at least comfortable with what we're doing, right? Maybe we have small differences on some of the wordings or something like that, or some techniques, no big deal. But what I really want to make sure is that everybody's on board so that you're not like, oh, I'm just wasting my time doing this. I want you to feel like, hey, this is something that's really valuable for me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why your input is extremely important into every aspect of this. And that's every one of us. I don't view this as a hierarchical structure. I'm not the boss and you're my minion. We're in a mutually beneficial side-by-side relationship that has no hierarchy whatsoever. You are as valuable as I am to this organization. Okay. In fact, my limitations depend on my ability to reach you. Okay. So my limitations as far as my ability to save children is really limited by my ability to get people to sell people on this process. Okay. And so it's important for me that everybody feels like, hey, this is something I'm part of. Okay. Anyways, so if you see anything that you want to add to, always tell me. If I have a booger on my nose, tell me. Constructive criticism is always greatly appreciated, especially when you may feel like you might not want to say it because you don't want to push the buttons, but I really want you to say it. Okay. Okay. Gather information. How did you feel about our recent NLI outreach campaign on ending and preventing female genital mutilation? Okay. How did our emails influence your thoughts on these issues? How does this issue affect your career and or the difficulty of your job? How do you think FGM relates to MGM, and how can this information be how can you use this information in your practice? Okay, if you haven't read them yet, okay, would you be interested in reading them and you can get back to me about your feelings? I really think this is a really important issue, and the rates of female genital cutting in the United States are shooting through the roof, and we really need to be aware of this. Can you do me a favor? I'm going to send you another email. Just check them, make sure they're not in your spam. And then what we'll do is I'll call you. I'll call you maybe next Thursday, and we can discuss this at like 2 o'clock. Are you available at 2 o'clock? I'll call you next Thursday, 2 o'clock. I'm just going to get your opinion. We're doing surveys and we're educating people. That's all we're doing. Bam. Okay. Then they read the emails. And see, that's the thing is we can get them to, some of these people are not going to read the emails. So we're going to get them to read the emails. Okay, so if you check your spam filter, I'll send the emails over to you right away. So what you're going to have is when you're doing this, is you're going to automatically already have access to all these things that you can then send out as links, right? So you can have a list of links that you can send this person. Let me show you this. I created a common copy and paste. Okay, this is in the works, but basically what I created, this is a system called FreeMind. It's free software, anybody can use it. Tufts University. It's really easy to use. It helps me to organize things. Anyways, it's free software, so I highly recommend it. Anatomy. So this is like my go-to, and I haven't really fleshed this out in depth, but I wanted it to make it easy so that I could go to one page and just copy and paste things very, very quickly, as opposed to I was using Evernote, and I go in Evernote and I have to search for this topic, and then I can copy and paste. But I really want to make it even faster than that, because with the MIME library, I can respond so quickly to anything very, very quickly, but I also wanted to do that with the written word. Didn't want it to just be MIMEs. I wanted to be also with the written word. And so what I did is I created this little structure. Here's the link to the anatomy, structure, and function educational stuff on my website. This is the foundation of what we're going to be using for our educational programs for Intactivists. We're going to have an educational program specifically for Intactivists. And there's a lot of anatomy, structure, and function information on that webpage. So if you go to Education Library, and you go down, you scroll down to the anatomy, structure, and function, this is a link you can provide. So I just have that ready. Then I have my go-to. This is my go-to Taylor, Colden, Lockwood. These are this is when, you got these people who are like, oh, this is not scientific. Well, here's the science, right? This is another one that I can send them. So this is kind of like how when you're like, online and somebody just sends out this massive thing, most people are not going to read those or follow those links, but I use it as a way to show them that I'm educated. Basically, I know it's just kind of weird, but some people would read it, some people won't. Penis size reduced. Okay, that's very, very valuable. If you don't know that the foreskin has androgen receptors that are responsible for controlling your penile growth, and that your penis is literally 1 to 2 inches smaller than it would have been had you not had your receptors of growth removed. So the idea that's very important for men, right? Leap of logic. Let's see. these are microbiome, mechanical functions, lubrication, pheromones, basic role written. Here's another one. So you can just include a lot of these, like sometimes I'll even include like, let's see, I have some in here. The Cancerverse study, I don't know if you've heard of the Cancerverse study. Anyways, these are just quickly copy and paste. Here's some ones that are small. So anesthesia, I put these smaller so you can use them on Twitter. So if you type, because Twitter's got like a 240 page character limit or something like that. So anyways, this is something you can create for yourself. What I'm going to do eventually is, once I've gotten this more fleshed out, is I'll share this with you guys. So if you guys get free mind, you'll eventually you'll have access to this, and you can adjust this and make it your own. We all have our own style of doing things. Okay, so that's the copy and paste thing. Just a way of making yourself more effective at responding to on social media. We want to give Intactivists power on social media too. That's so every aspect that we can do. Even though I think social media is not the end all be all, I still think it's extremely valuable. That's how we all got in touch with each other and everything too. Okay, so encourage and empower. Encourage critical questioning of the issue. Tell them things like, I think if you looked at it from a different perspective, I think you might even change your mind. Say things like that. Tell them that this is something, all the things that you're already against, this is just like those. Tell them things like that. Be honest and straightforward with them. Say, look, I know you can grow on this. I know you have that potential. I really want you to really just take a second look. Just question this. Question your own assumptions. Ask them to critically question it. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. You're not pushing them into anything, right? You're asking them for something that's simple. It's not a big question. Do not pressure, okay? This is not the time to, oh, you have to do this, or no, that's bullshit, or anything like that. If somebody says something ridiculous, or UTI or something like that, then you say, oh, you know what? Spout out something. It takes 133 circumcisions to prevent one UTI, and most UTIs are easily treatable with antibiotics. So there's far less ways of preventing UTIs, and in fact, it's only the supposed protective mechanism is only for the first year of a child's life. So after that, there's pretty much no value to it, and this is harmful. This is harmful psychologically. Just you know how to do it. You guys, you're an Intactivist. You know how to respond to this. Okay, allow them to grow, plant the seed on this phone call. Okay, answer any questions.
Quick, short.
What's that?
To the point answers.
Yeah. Well, when we talked about with Paul, is the main thing is to answer open-ended questions. So how did this email influence your thoughts on these issues? Instead of saying, did these make you feel bad about this issue? The answer is yes or no. You're asking them to elaborate. And so the questions are giving them an option to open the conversation, right? If there's a full-on conversation to be had and this person is all in, go all in, right? Don't this first phone call is just for those people that are not as receptive, right? If you can,
I like the quick go-to categories, where you're like, okay, someone's talking about this, like, what can I come up with for a response quickly? Because, especially when you're in heat of the moment, you're just like, like you're like going off, all ticked off or whatever. So I think having a standard reply that is rational but gets to the point, like what you're trying to say without freaking out on somebody, is important, because especially, it happens to all of us, but you see what people are saying and then your immediate reaction is to spaz, and then you get really sidetracked and you don't give them any information that they can relate to. So I really like the idea of having the quick facts categories, to be able to go into something really quickly and find a super easy answer.
I want to the point where we're going to practice on these phone calls. These phone calls are where we all kind of meld together and really flesh out these ideas. What I want to do is actually practice the, we're going to get on these phone calls and we're going to practice with each other. We've got a few weeks before we're actually going to need to do any Tele-Intactivism. So the way I look at it, just kind of giving you a heads up of where we're at. We've already got the database. It's time to go to phase 2. So we're going to start sending probably next week or the week after. I really have to make sure this email we're working on right now is perfect. The other 3 are perfect and ready to go, that we're all in agreement. They're edited. They're, my grammar, I am challenged. I am grammarly challenged, so I need support when it comes to grammar. So anybody that wants to help with editing is so valuable. I think that's why I really appreciate that, Sarah. Okay, so answer any questions. So you do have the ability to go. So here's the deal. It's like, I know there's even missing holes in my knowledge. Like, I want to be able to spout out the numbers 100%. So I really want to have really strong, solid statistics that we can provide. I'll give you an example. Okay, so saying, mentioning about the, Taylor, Colden, Lockwood, and then Meissner corpuscles, and knowing what a Meissner corpuscle is, or where the ridge band, the frenular delta, knowing these, the fundamentals of the neurology is important, so you can spout those out. Knowing, that I think, let's see, was it 2.3 to 1.6, I think, is the ratio of potential loss from the HIV studies in Africa, and it comes out to 1.3% of an actual benefit. So you want to be able to spout that off, the relative versus the actual benefit, and have some statistics on that. Like, I know there's really some powerful statistics, like using condoms is like 734% better. Abstaining from sex for 7 days of the year is far more reducing in HIV than cutting off the most sensitive functional part of your genitals. So, so you want to be able to have that access right off the top of your mind when you're answering these phone calls, because you are talking to a professional class. You know what I mean? These are people that are educated. If you get on there and you don't have that knowledge, again, you made the phone call. So I would rather you make the phone call than not, but let's get that knowledge in your head so that you can feel comfortable responding to those, and maybe even having something like this where you can just, okay, we have a list of the potential things, and you can just pop it out if you don't know the statistic right off the top of your head. And that way you can start to memorize it that way anyways. So I want to have a list of that. That's another thing to do. Let me add this to the list. List of statistics, studies, scientists, and data. Okay, so these are in the main things, like those main things. The main things I use like my fingers: anatomy and physiology, structure and function is like my first finger. Number 2 is psychology, okay, psychological impact. Number 3 is medical or social and history. Okay, number 4. So I just have a list that I go down, and I'm always going to have something to say. And even if I get to that spot where I'm kind of running out of stuff to say, I always have something that I think that this person needs to know. And really, like the most easiest things that I do, one of my most easiest things, I say, look, it's half the surface area. It's a third to a half the surface area and 75% of the nerves. Right then and there, that's a very dramatic statistic, right? And then if somebody questions me further, I can say, look, people will throw, really good thought right here is the common retorts. So common retorts that you get, so someone could say, for instance, people that are slightly educated on this, people that are pro-mutilators, they look at our arguments and they try to pick them apart. So one of the things they'll use is, for instance, people say, there's 20,000 nerves. The reason why I don't say 20,000 nerves is because there's never been like a legit scientific counting and study of the number of nerve endings in the foreskin. So when we say that, we give the counter argument a little bit of power, right? We don't want to give them any power. So I use 75%. If somebody balks on that, I can say, look, the only person that's ever taken a microscope and looked at it is the doctors Taylor, Colden, Lockwood. Okay? Saying their name, the names of the doctors is very valuable. Okay? That immediately puts you as a professional. And any professional that hears that is going to recognize that you're knowledgeable about this and you're educated on it. Anyone, basically anybody, really. So if you're able to spit out the names like that, okay, that's why it's so important that we know. We have maybe a flyer list or like a card list that you can go through, and we'll make that for you guys. So what was I going to call it? Just a card, flip cards that you can quiz yourself with, and that you have the action. For instance, the pudendal nerve. The pudendal nerve is the nerve that innervates the underside of the frenulum. Okay, and that innervates the frenulum. Well, the dorsal nerve is the one on the top, right? The dorsal nerve block doesn't block the pudendal nerve. That's why all these children having the dorsal nerve block are screaming in pain. Okay, you can't block the pudendal nerve with, without, they don't have the access to do it. It's just more complex. The nerve system is too complex for them. So if you know this, then you can say that, right? For instance, there was a doctor who came across Intactivists at one of the AAP videos. The doctor denied the tissue that adheres the foreskin to the glands at puberty, right? That tissue has a name, right? So when the Intactivists were approaching them, say you have to scrape, you have to rip it, you have to scrape it. Blade's like, there's no tissue that you have. She does them. She's a doctor. And she's doing it. She's breaking the tissue. She doesn't even know the name of it. Well, if you can spout off, that's the balano-prepubital lamina. You sound educated. You sound like you know what you're talking about. It's a big word, utilize, this doesn't take a lot. I mean, you don't have to study this stuff for a long time to memorize all these little details. These are small little details, but they add so much credibility to your position that I want to make sure that all Intactivists have access to them, right? So that's another important thing that we're going to be doing, is making sure that raising up the level of Intactivist education. And eventually, during these phone calls, we're going to create videos that we're going to utilize to educate the Intactivists. Okay. I think I've really covered almost everything I wanted to cover. Is there any thoughts, additions, ideas? Do I have a booger on my nose anywhere? What do you guys think? Sarah's a critical questioner. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Sarah.
To be honest with you, well, the flashcards thing that you were talking about, I do like that, because as much as I know already, there's still like so much that I don't know. So for myself personally, I just like want to do that. And just because I feel like, especially then when we're all talking with each other, when we're all like doing this work with everybody, it's nice to know that everybody knows what you're talking about, and like everybody knows the same things, because like we all have the same idea. We all know for the most part what we're talking about. But like when you come down to like dorsal slits and all these things, like I've heard the word, and I do sort of know what it is, but I don't know exactly what it is, right? So like I have the gist of it, but like I think it's important that we all know these things. I mean, because if a doctor's not going to know it, and we're going to sit here and preach about how it's so wrong, we should really know all of it.
Yeah, because if that person, the Intactivist, had known the name of the tissue during that, they could have really laid into that doctor. Because I was like, I wish I was there. Like, oh damn, I would have really like. What do you? I would have like went off. Like that would have been a great.
It's the littlest thing, and it can make you end up looking like you don't know anything, just because they don't know anything, and they're looking at you like, okay, you say you know what you're talking about. What are you talking about then? And like the one word that you can't come up with can ruin the entire vibe, the whole conversation. Like they'll just be like, oh yeah, you obviously don't know what you're talking about. So, and
the thing is we know we're the most educated people on the planet about this. Like in that talking about that email, like. We literally have I'm talking the intact doctors, the other 80% of the world, none of them know what they themselves have in their own pants. Like none of them. Like literally, I was driving Uber for a little while, and I had a heart doctor from England in my car. And he had no idea. Because of course, he's a doctor from England. I'm kind of have a conversation with him. And so he was shocked. I'm like, naming things. He's like, this Uber driver is teaching me anatomy that I don't know. And you're a doctor with 30 years of experience and medical school under your belt. And I'm sitting here teaching you about the anatomy that's in your pants. Like that's alarming that situation exists in the world. That's crazy. It's ludicrous. Like literally doctors. And I don't know how this happens. Like if I had the body part, I might be interested in learning about it. I mean, it's a fascinating body part. Like, if you know where the sensation is, you know how to better stimulate it if you have those body parts, right? So wouldn't you be interested in learning about where the ridge band is, the frenular delta and the frenulum? Wouldn't you want to know that? Wouldn't you want to know about the stretch receptors in the dartos fascia? the smooth muscle that's involved in it, and all the tissues and the nerve endings and all that kind of stuff, and what a Meissner corpuscle is. Don't you want to know that? Like that could influence your techniques. That can influence, educate your woman. Hey, baby, look at this spot. Touch this. Da, da, da. So we literally have this. I mean, like sexologists, their job, ology is the study of. They study sex, but yet they don't know half the anatomy involved in sex.
Well, then it makes everything they say seem like bullshit, because I'll come across articles like different sex articles, and just like what you're saying, and they're coming up with all these, like how to make your sex better or why it's not so great, and you're reading it and you're just like jaw dropped, because you're just like, I cannot even believe that this is your job, and everything that you're saying, it comes down to one single thing, and you didn't mention it anywhere in this article. It's like your whole article is complete bullshit and you don't even know it.
I've been on podcasts with sexologists who have PhDs in this subject and don't know the basic anatomy of the male genitals. They do not know.
The article wouldn't exist if they knew what circumcision was. The article wouldn't simply exist if they had a clue what circumcision was, So it's like, it's mind-boggling. I can't ever grasp onto it. I don't know if I ever will.
It's completely and the antithesis of everything we've thought about our society our whole lives. So everything that we tell ourselves, everything that we think, everything that is part of what we claim to be as a society that's massively violence and literally turns on its head. So, if you want to claim to be a good person, you're not a good person if you do this. Sorry. This is harmful to children. It's crazy.
Trying to do, but I was like getting so stressed out being at work. I don't even really know what work has to do with it. But it feels better to have more time to do this, because this is what I actually want to do.
Exactly. That's how I feel too. I think that I have given my best at my career, and at this point in my life, it's just time for me to do something more meaningful, and I'm just not going to waste it any longer. There is no reason why we cannot move culture on this within 5 years. Most definitely. I mean, there's no reason. So, especially right now where home birthing is kind of taking a resurgence. I mean, this is a prime opportunity for us, especially with the doula and midwife. So I think, we can really make the argument. So I'm really looking forward to working with you, Sarah. So I'm absorb what I guess has been presented this evening, and let's regroup and, rethink about what we can do to partner together and end circumcision.
Did you tell her, Michelle, about the certification for the doulas and midwives? I think that's really fascinating.
No, I didn't get to talk with her in great detail about that, like I had with the other person I've actually been able to communicate with by phone. But that's why I kind of told her, I was like, come listen, get a feel, we'll connect, and then kind of decide. But no, I'll talk about the certificate. Like I mentioned here, just about the trauma-based one for, trauma-informed for therapists. So definitely I want to do. So one of the common things I see with my Your Whole Baby group is that there's always parents coming home from the pediatrician and complaining, feeling belittled. I don't know what other word you want to use, but just their inability to assert proper intact care without meeting some sort of resistance or being dismissed, laughed off, whatever. Much of what I've seen when I've been researching the doulas in California, many of the services that they offer, advocacy is written all over it. Advocacy this, advocate. They will attend appointments with you. They'll do, some of the antepartum appointments. Also, I've seen a few offer postpartum. And when I spoke with a doula by phone and talked a little bit about this, they said it's primarily for for the mother, but I said, well, what do you think about offering a service where, or, what I think I framed it initially, what could I do to support you in feeling confident about asserting this information to your pediatrician to protect your son's, genitals from forced retraction? And then I think I took it a step further and said, what would your thoughts be about us offering a certification program and offering a referral service, basically, because all of our Your Whole Baby families, every parent that we would essentially be getting to save from circumcision, I would want to connect them with this doula, and I would want this doula then to attend this pediatric appointment with our information in hand. So that, again, the doctors are understanding that there are advocates that are aware, we're holding you accountable, it is unreasonable and unacceptable for your patient and the parent to feel intimidated about asserting this information. That has to stop, like right now. And that is where I feel like we have to intervene, because when I'm seeing this need and I don't have an outreach, and I'm a nurse and I'm sitting at home and I'm trying to solve this problem, when he came with this, I felt like, okay, well, this can maybe connect some of these dots, because like he said, this is a population of clinical professionals that are hungry for referrals. They're hungry for the business. So if we can somehow market to them and say, look, we have families right now. Every time I have a family posted in that group with this nonsense from their provider, I want to connect them to a doula advocate in their area that's been certified by us, that they are knowledgeable and intact care to accompany this parent to this appointment to review our information.
Michelle,
and then get that.
I'm sorry. I was going to ask you, did you contact, what's her name, about the list, the doulas list? She has it on her website, I think.
Franny. Yes, I did talk with her. Yes, I did. So she has offered that. She's already kind of done this up in Montreal. She started it with that group up there. She said, yes, these are all people that are supporters of our message. They will, advocate on behalf of the infant. And so that's a starting point. So kind of what we're doing is kind of replicating what she has done up there, just nationally.
I want to use her website if we can.
Yes, she's given us permission.
Okay,
she's given us permission.
The reason why is I don't see NLI website as a go-to for. I see it more of a go-to for Intactivists, not really like. And
I think the name of hers is like circumcision resource, so it's going to be something that's easily searchable by someone that's looking for this information and diverting them from our message here. So, I did talk with her. She's given us that okay to expand it to include everyone that we see appropriate for that particular population. I mean, we'll have to come up with something else. When I talked with the other Sarah about the therapist type of aspect, we would have to create some sort of other database to incorporate them, a referral base. But for the doulas, I think we're going to use her infrastructure. I think your idea of using stuff that's already there, that people have already done, utilizing that, growing that is the best idea, at least to start. And if we don't have it, then we create it. But
we don't want to recreate existing structures, and we want to get involved with other Intactivists. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. We get benefits of, getting Franny involved in what we're doing, and also it's already there, it's already created, and I think it's more of a professional platform for that type of goal. So I don't know. I mean, we may have to. The black website with the dark NLI is more of a Intactivist website. It's not geared towards professional. I need a different color scheme. I would need a different layout. Really, I would do the layout completely different for that type of thing. So I don't really want to have to create 2 different websites. So if you use her website, any Intactivist that's already doing something, we don't want to recreate what they're doing and just double. We want to use whatever is already there. So there's a lot of resources that are. Go ahead.
One of the other things that I kind of had in mind for this, I've kind of already shared with Daniel. I mean, Brett and Finley can also hear, but when I am doing this outreach to these doula and midwives, one of the questions I want to ask, because I kind of been coming up with my own questions too, and plus what me and Daniel and others have contributed by what he has there. But I kind of outright do want to ask, do you know of any pediatricians or providers that are intact friendly or not performing circumcision? I immediately want to do outreach to those physicians and get them added to our Your Whole Baby database for provider referrals, because again, I have always parents asking for referrals in their areas of pediatricians that are intact friendly, and our list is too limited. And I have to basically call doctors out on that. It's a shame that I don't have enough physicians around the country to refer families to for the safety of their son's genitals. It's insane. It is insane.
Yeah, because we want to create
so that is kind of my thoughts on approaching this.
We want to create a whole
I want to use
system.
this information for those purposes.
Yeah, we want to create a system, and I think this system that we're creating, that anybody can utilize it. You know what I mean? Like, Michelle's going to be running this in California, and Lee's going to be running it in New York. But somebody in New Jersey or Georgia or Hawaii or whatever can jump on and just say, "Hey, I'm going to do this," and they could immediately start doing something and like this with little time involved. I mean, you could do the 15 minutes a day. In a month, you could have hundreds of contacts with 15 minutes a day. And then those hundreds of contacts can turn into thousands of babies being saved. Like, you really got to understand how powerful this is. You know, this is not being done. These people are not being reached out to. There's nobody else going to teach these people this information. So unless we give them the information, the chance and likelihood of gaining this information is in our current society is vastly reduced. Now, in 10 years, I think it's going to be much more common knowledge. But what I envision us is creating that, being an influence in that eventual culture of understanding this issue on a deeper level, which I think is with the professionals. We can get the professionals on board. That's why the doulas and midwives I thought was such a powerful ones. I almost considered doing child psychologists first. But I realized that the doulas and midwives are going to have a more immediate effect, whereas the child psychologist is more something that it's going to create a long-term change. It's more of a longer-term plan, because, you know, the child psychologist is dealing with a child that's already damaged. He's dealing with children who've already been through it. So for him to change that or influence that is going to be less. But for them to understand it, I think is very valuable, and for them to start understanding it and then start writing about it. Like Psychology Today has some really good articles about it. So psychology itself.
And I agree with you, Daniel. I think that is because again, as we continue to unwrap this and society really starts to become aware, we can't handle the opiate epidemic. We can't handle suicide already in this country. We can't handle the mental health crisis that is already underway without most of society being aware of this. Once we do reach the 10-point strategy on this of, you know, the larger majority being aware and men are becoming more aware of their bodies and what's happened, I don't know how we're going to manage it. I don't. And so that's why I'm with you that kind of might need to be another priority, because I need therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I need therapy after dealing with this shit. And I don't have nobody to call on. And I work for the largest health system in Northeast Indiana, and there is not a psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist within my entire organization that is competent to treat an individual. I don't think if a female genital cut, I don't even think we're competent to treat that. So there's a huge gap. And so I'm with you but that's just my own personal bias, I guess, because that's the population I, work closely with.
Yeah.
But
I think that, and then the next one might be college professors, university professors. They're very easy to access. They've got phone numbers to a lot of them, emails to a lot of them. You can gather the information very, very quickly. It's on one website. The university professors
I want to get out of here.
Yeah. And we need
and
to
I think it's important. I think it's important that we're reaching out to them before he tours, so whatever campus he's going on, we are outreaching to those department heads, to those student organizations on campus.
Yeah, Michelle mentioned
that's what we need to be doing. That's what we need to be doing when those when bloodstained men hit the campus and when Cockfight hits that campus, we need to be flooding their ass like a political campaign and letting them know we are in town. So that's how I think, so we're all doing our doula stuff, we're doing our therapist stuff, but an event is happening around this country, a lawsuit hits, we're hitting legal departments, that is the level of execution this needs to have over the next two years, so that it is, we see and the thing I keep stressing to Daniel is I need, as a clinician, I need measurable outcomes. So we have to figure out a way to measure what we're doing. We have to be able to, see our results, because everything that we're doing online, when we're standing out on street corners protesting, while it's therapeutic and I love it, and I will be there every opportunity my financial life allows me to be, we don't know really how we're impacting. And with this, I think we have a real possibility of being able to really track what's happening with the people that we're outreaching. I want to kind of develop questions for us to kind of track what is the now, and then in 5 years when we're doing outreach to these same individuals, what their responses are. So that's really important too with this type of outreach. If there's anybody scientific or statistical that's in this, we need to really kind of request someone to be analyzing our results and what we're doing with this outreach.
I think
that's important to me.
I think a lot of the, as we get into this later stages, especially in the 2 or 3 campaigns, once we're 2 or 3 campaigns in, you're going to, even the phone calls I made when I was doing the media outreach database, like they were just, and I've been so busy, so swamped. I've been trying to get to them, and I need to go back through those and listen to them and find out which ones I think are valuable, because I know there's a lot of them that were really interesting conversations. And I want you guys to kind of see what I've already done with those conversations and kind of see how I talk to them or whatever. You guys can kind of see what I did wrong or make ideas for yourselves or stuff like that. But once you start you're going to have these conversations, in my opinion, by the time we're 3 stages into this, you're going to get that validation on the phone calls. And what I encourage us to do when we're making these phone calls is to record them. You can record them personally and never share them, but you can also record them and maybe share them by getting the person's getting their permission to share the phone calls. Okay, because I think it's legal. You have to someone has to legally know you're recording them before you can record them. So we don't break any laws. We'll ask them, and then we'll say, hey, do you mind if we use this for educating other Intactivists, or do you mind if we put this on a YouTube channel so people hear these kind of conversations we're having? I think once you start having a bunch of those videos start to pop up and people start hearing these conversations and you start sharing this with other Intactivists, I think what's going to happen is the other Intactivists can say, hey, you know what, this is different than what I've been hearing. So this is different than what I'm used to, and I really want to be involved in this. Awesome, Sarah. Thank you for joining us. Your contributions were really appreciated.
Sarah.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, we're about to shut down anyways. Anybody else want to add anything? Brett, real quick before everybody goes, Brett, I wanted to say this about Brett. Brett is one of the organizations I think is the most important as far as outreach, and this is why. If I was to write a list of things top to bottom of who is the most important people to reach out to, the number one probably on that list would be young adults. Okay, now we're creating a system for chasing professionals, but this is not a system for reaching young adults, who are the most important aspect of our outreach. So I will freely admit that we are not even targeting the most important aspect. We do need to target the professionals because they're the ones that are teaching the children, but we need somebody out there targeting the children. And how do we do that? I don't think it's going to be a database or through emails or through maybe even Tele-Intactivism. Maybe there's options that somebody can come up with, but really I think the importance is getting somebody out there on the ground at these games, like where the games are actually going to the student organizations.
I think the student organization outreach is a place where we should start.
Yeah, because we didn't even do that. I mean, when I was doing the university database, I didn't gather, I didn't have it said, hey, let's find out these student groups, whether it's a logic group or a chess group or just whatever, a lot of these are activists and stuff like that. They're involved in other things. So let's get them, let's get this information to them, those students that are in these groups and organizations, and let's try to encourage them to create their own organizations.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Brent, who was that organization in your group that you were talking about? You kind of liked the way they did their outreach or something. Brent was talking about an organization. You know what I'm talking about? You mentioned it before. I don't know if you know.
Are you talking about voice or Anonymous for the Voiceless?
Yeah. No, you had this group, or that you were utilizing some of their thoughts on developing volunteers.
Yeah, but we borrowed some of their ideas. Yeah.
Anyways,
I was gonna say we developed Cockfight to try to make Intactivism cool and fun to appeal to young people, and it really seems to be working. I mean, we get really good responses from the college kids. We went to I think 7 or 8 college football games last fall, and the kids love it. I mean, I got all kinds of pictures of the kids holding the signs up, and
Brent is a warrior, man.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna tell you because I still have a couple of the stacks of cards. I'm going to Nevada in like 12 days, and I'm gonna go to skate parks there, and I'm really excited to give the cards out and everything. Because I live in North Carolina, and I go to the same skate park every day, all day. So it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be not the same people I see every day. So yeah, I'm excited though. But I'm gonna leave April 15th, and I'm gonna be there till the 24th, and probably be at the skate park almost every day. And of course, have the cards and stuff.
That's fantastic.
Awesome.
Just last time I was in Nevada, I didn't have the cards, so I didn't. It sucked when I mentioned it to people. I was like, well.
See, hey Bentley, have you thought about maybe helping us with the print committee?
Hang on, let me cut my phone up. I can't hear that one.
I was going to say maybe helping take over the print committee. That might be something. I mean, we really need that because those flyers are so valuable.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was having trouble because of my phone.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Do you hear what I asked?
Yeah. I got a fat puppy in my lap.
Can you, Daniel, just in general, can you just describe the printing need that you have? Just kind of give me an idea, because as I'm doing this outreach and I'm trying to explain what your needs are, I will have a better idea.
The print committee is basically the goal of the print committee is to make sure that all Intactivists have access to printed materials. So flyers, postcards, stamps, even bumper stickers, shirts. Shirts are.
So at this point, we're still not just keeping it to where we're referring people to their other favorite Intactivist organization to get printed materials that are already in production, or
we could use.
What do you think?
We could use Brett's. We could use. There's a bunch of them. I have some
like
already.
8,000. I have like 8,000 cards.
See, need those. So Brett's card is really good. I don't know if you've seen it. Well, I know Bentley has. But
Yeah, our card is great. The only problem is our website is lacking, right? Which we need to get.
Yeah, we'll get that. I mean, Brett's overwhelmed right now. So what I was going to say is, I was just going to say one thing. Give Brett money. Brett has a 501c3, whatever you call it. He has a nonprofit. We're going to create a list of Intactivist things to do. One of the top things at the list is to create a small monthly donation. Okay, $5, $10, $25, $50, maybe $100, depending upon your financial situation. But I want everybody to contribute. Everybody should be doing some sort of monthly, continual, and you set it up through your bank, so you have to think about it. Just send up a repeating send, and Brett can take that money and do what. I mean, I don't need money to do what we're doing, right? It's not costing me anything to be here. In fact,
Brett, how do you use the money? Is this what you're
Brett's
using when you travel to the campus?
Well, he needs the money for traveling. Go ahead.
God, we stretched our money pretty far. I've donated a lot of money myself, so we actually haven't. What we spent the donations on so far is really just helping Intactivists come to our events, like paying for their gas money and stuff.
So you're
that,
sponsoring for other people to come protest with you.
I kind of missed the first part of what you said, but
I said you're covering the travel expenses for those that come and protest with you from anywhere within the country.
well, not from anywhere in the country. No. We usually get from like one day, one day drive, like just a few hours away. We just a lot of people that come are like our moms and stuff, so they don't have a lot of extra money. So if we can just cover their gas, they can show up to our events. And what I usually tell them is we'll pay for your gas if you bring a friend and you stay for the whole protest. You don't like leave, after 10 minutes and then or something. So that's
we're not trying to give them a vacation. We're trying to get them.
Yeah, but I mean, they're bringing kids along. You never know with kids. You never know.
Oh yeah, we cut them some slack, if they make.
Yeah, I had to leave. The last time I protested, I think we had to leave about an hour early at least. I think because the kids got so hot, and it was just no shade, and they were, having a meltdown. So
people make an honest effort. Yeah.
Okay, I just was curious. I just didn't know what you did with the money. I mean, I contribute to Bloodstained Men fairly regularly, but I also, have watched what you've done, and I, support that. And I'm, if you can, better utilize the money right now, especially in preparation for your fall campaign, then
we're
I
very
can definitely
frugal. Yeah, we are very frugal with our money right now. I mean, we've had to be because I haven't been as well known as Bloodstained Men, but right now our expenses we're considering. We are thinking about getting a rooster mascot suit. So that would be one of our biggest expenses or investments so far.
That's awesome.
Are you?
What's good about I hope people
hot wearing that. So it's going to be very hot wearing that, isn't it? I mean, especially the early part of the season. When are you starting your first protest?
Oh, I haven't really looked at the next college football season, but we're going to do things before then too. We were doing state fairs. I don't know if those will probably happen this summer. Those are good. We really need to this spring. We really need to go back to the college campuses where we were at in the fall.
The college campuses are so.
I agree. I feel like that's where pretty much almost every single protest at this point needs to be happening. Yep. Yeah. Anywhere else is a waste of a day, is a waste of Intactivist time. If it's not on a college campus at this point, I don't see where the message is falling on deaf ears. Again, nothing measurable, no meaningful interaction.
I agree with you.
So I agree. And the state fair thing I think is pretty good. There's a lot of foot traffic. The idea is the foot traffic. So a county fair, state fair, city fair, whatever. I was almost thinking about going down to our Three Rivers Festival this year. But yeah, I agree that you have what you're doing. I do think is the right direction. So I completely support that.
That's why I want to get Brett on here so I can promote him because.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I said like the weeks. Once you do kind of tie your schedule together, I think for your particular outreach would be where we would be doing student organizations for every campus. I just went to my college campuses the last time I was saying this to Daniel just to see the 20 or 30 different organizations that there, and they have 4 or 5, they have the president, the board of whoever, and all of their emails and all of their phone numbers are there. So it is at the end of the day kind of an easy target. And even if it is just saying, hey, we want you to know Intactivists are going to be on your campus this day, be on note. And by then they'll have our information. We've already given them the background of what's happening. So they have some knowledge to work with. I think that when I've been at protests and we're kind of just popping up here, we're here, everyone's, kind of surprised. Intactivists aren't aware. They're posting, oh, I wasn't aware you were in town today. I would have been down there, that type of thing. It's just that there's too much faultiness that's happening within this movement that is unnecessary. And so I think that what Daniel has here is a recipe of kind of tying what everybody's doing together in a sense. So and reaching people that we wouldn't normally reach. Like, we don't know that the people walking by are therapists, and they can kind of dismiss us walking by. When we're calling them and confronting them, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to dismiss, especially if we continue to pursue this as a way to outreach to these people, because another Intactivist group can come along and contact these same people. Well, I don't know that NLI contacted you. We are with so-and-so and so-and-so. So we're calling you on our behalf, you know? So at the end of the day, I think that this is a real way to hold people accountable. And I think that supporting you on these campuses should be also an outreach that we take as important, because I think these college campuses are so important. It's so important. I think high schools are important. And since we don't have access to them, this is the next best thing.
Who says we don't have access to them? I'm thinking about, there's a high school 4 blocks from my house. I'm thinking about going there pretty soon, actually.
I actually have distributed information at the high schools, but at the end of the day, I mean, it is a little bit more. It's a little bit more. You're talking to adults when you're on a college campus, so no parents are going to come hunting you down. Whereas if you're at the school, you probably are going to get involved with a parent or security guard or something. So college campuses, I think maybe in 3 or 4 years we could probably do a high school, no questions asked. But right now, I think infiltrating the college campuses should be our next plan of attack in terms of protest. The next 3 years we should be heavy hitting these campuses. Bloodstained Men should be hitting them. We should be calling for national days of our protests locally on our campuses. That should probably definitely be something that evolves, because I feel like any other day is a wasted day of protest. And I've been out there a handful of times, and that's just my opinion. 1 year into Intactivism. So what you're doing for us is
college campuses are
it's going to get the job.
So
powerful. I know.
Sometimes it's hard to talk on this thing because it's kind of hard to jump in that conversation just because the lag. So if you talk over each other, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. Go ahead, Brett. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say, I think, I toured with the Bloodstained Men for a few years, and I really think that the Cockfight brand is much better to reach the young people. I mean, Bloodstained Men is they kind of developed a great model for getting media attention, because if you probably heard, if it bleeds, it leads in the news, right? So they did a great job. They do a great job getting just in the headlines, just articles written about them and stuff, because it's so sensational.
Well, now they do.
And everything. But if
now they do.
Oh yeah, with the next.
They didn't before. They didn't before.
Exactly.
They do now.
I was going to say, here locally, there was very little when they toured here. I even think since probably the time that you've done that, because again, I've only been involved since 2019. I would have toured with them that spring here in the Midwest. We had no media, maybe one small media come out, but no, not here. So that may be true in your market, but not here. Not at all.
I know what Brett's saying.
So if that's a false belief.
He's saying that they're a good potential for, they're a thing to push the media to get a story written. Like, they're highly valuable.
Yeah, I agree. That's a better,
It might be easier for me to get a story written about them than it is about Brett, just because of it's more, well, first off, it's geared towards more of a national family-oriented thing, protest group, whereas Brett's targeting youth, and he's more.
I don't know. Cockfight sounds so college to me. Cockfight sounds so college to me.
That's my point. That's my point. I'm saying that Bloodstained Men was good for getting in the news, whereas we developed Cockfight as a way to reach young people, and we want the students
I love it.
to join our movement. We want to you know, inspire them and galvanize the students. And
how do you
join
feel
them.
like it went last season? Do you feel like you were able to get anybody to engage?
We get lots of names. I mean, that's why I actually need your guys' help, because I need help with an onboarding plan for all these kids. That we get all these names, but I need volunteers to help, like, you know, contact them, and we really need a volunteer, like, to mentor these kids at each school, you know. And I it's tough to put all that together. That's something that NLI could really.
We could help you on that, definitely. In fact, the website is more, I think, more geared towards younger adults as well. Like the color scheme. So to me, it's going to be a match more like that than it would be with a doula list and a doctor list. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So you're envisioning, I guess I'm asking Brett, you're envisioning, so the people, you've had this interaction with them that day. They have said, hey man, I'm digging what you're doing. I want to be down.
Well,
you're okay with it?
Yeah. Well, I ask them. You can tell if they're a little more interested in the average person. And I ask them. I get their information. We have a lot of contact info, and then I'll even make a note. I'll like this guy or this girl. You know, they seem like they have leadership potential. You know, and we'll write maybe some notes.
And you have what campus they're from too?
Yeah.
And are you visiting those same campuses this fall?
Yeah, we'll go back. I'm in Kansas City, so so far we kind of go like 1 day's drive to all the universities.
You'll be interesting to find out is how do you, my question, sorry, Michelle, let me just ask this real quick. How does a organization such as a student-run organization, one of the ones I mentioned off the top of my head is called Young Americans for Liberty. It's like a group of organization. I just know they're on all these college campuses.
Oh yeah.
So YAL, they call it Young Americans for Liberty. And I was thinking, like, how do you go through the process to get established on a university as an organization? You know, how do you create that system? That would be very fascinating. And can we create that? Do we have to be, do we need a student within the organization? Do we need do we create an organization and go to the university and apply at the university?
I told you, here's the reality. And I think that the minute we get to digging into this is where I said, all this shit is already freaking here. There was a men's group. There was it might even have been labeled a men's rights groups on Purdue's campus here in my community. So there is probably already a group that would already be ideal or the logical pick for picking up our message.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I think the first minute we really get to looking at this, we're going to hone in on the 2 or 3 organizations that will take the lead on. And then, like I say, then you'll kind of, if you've already got your people identified, you know, from the protest, and even this season of gathering more.
Process, yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Those will be the people that then could take and start the organization as being the students. But I think there's already organizations there that would, if they really have an understanding of this information, can already incorporate it in their mission.
Especially like a men's rights group or
yes, there is. Or
sociology, psychology group. Like
exactly, anthropology, whatever. I mean, there are all of those. So there's groups that should take value in this information initially, that should give us our first kind of collection of people that will become our campus changers in this and moving it in that direction. So we may not have to even worry about that. Right now, I think our focus just needs to be tapping into, like, you know, Daniel, like I said, tapping into what's already there, doing outreach to them. So I think our key right now over the summer should be really gathering that information for all the campuses that he's going to go to.
So we need a new campaign, or we need a new phase 1.
Yeah, we need to get a new database. We need to get a new database for all those student organizations and all those department heads for those campuses that he plans on touring. So if you can just get us a list of who you're going to this season, possibly, so that we can start looking at those college campuses specifically at those departments. And it shouldn't take us very long to gather that information, because it's all kind of compiled together when you look under student organizations on their pages. So it shouldn't take that long. So the department heads may take a little bit longer because you got to go to individual pages to look at that. But I think this should be fairly quick to help us get us started a campaign here at the time Daniel's starting. We'll incorporate them. They'll get the email campaign like everybody else. That, 2 weeks before you are being on campus, that's when we should probably start our call outreach. And then as far as your volunteers that you already have now, I would say if you kind of have that information gathered somewhat, maybe we can go ahead and incorporate them in what we're kind of doing in database gathering and getting involved with organizing for your protest and all that. So I can kind of do some outreach with that as I'm doing outreach to re-engage Daniel's volunteers. Because that's kind of what my first step is doing right now, is I'm realizing that we probably need about 50 volunteers. So I'm going through his list. I'll go ahead and add your list of people to it if you think that they are people that would really like to be involved in some way. Even if it is, like I say, helping gather information for your campuses and getting involved in outreach and helping participate in your protest. If that's a way to kind of help your thing during that time.
I'm not really sure what the best way to onboard the students are. They're a little bit special because they're very busy with their course load, and
what we do is we offer them, once we have it done, of course, is an online series of 10 videos that all Intactivists can go to get their basic education, and we can just give that to them.
Yeah, we've got to educate them, right?
Once that they're educated, then.
But you got to you've got to combine like a social aspect. It'd be good if we could just screen these films on their campus.
Well, I mean, we could get these kids. I mean, these kids like to protest, right? Like, how fun is how fun
I
is
think
it
the point. I think right now is getting them to your protest this coming season needs to kind of be the focus right now. I think if you can get them re-engaged this season, we'll be able to take it to the next level after that.
I like that.
But right now, I'm going to utilize them to gather this bit of information for us on all the key people on your campus that need to know that we're coming, and they need to know this information. Get that distributed and get your protesters there. I think that's what we need to do with that group of people right now.
Okay. And
leave it there. And then when you have them there that day and you're working with them, you re-solidify that relationship. You let them know there's work to do. We, put them back in touch with us. Say, hey, look, after today, I'll have Michelle get back in touch with you. We will get them re-engaged at whatever level they want to be.
Let me
There's
just add
so
this
much to do.
Let me just add this in there, is that damn, I had something to say. I do this sometimes,
No, it's late. It's late for me. I know, shit.
Yeah.
9:19. What I was gonna say is, we can run these campaigns simultaneously with everybody. Like, we don't have to wait till Brett's out there. What we can do is, we can start to. I think
don't you think it's gonna fall in your timeline? Because when did you feel like you're about a month away from starting your first campaign? I don't think we'll be too far behind. It's just going to be kind of gathering.
We're about 2 weeks from starting our first campaign. And the thing is if we could we need a volunteer who's going to focus on the universities. Like, I could really use some volunteers right now. So anybody that could volunteer to take over the university. I've already got Queensland's University done. I can show you how to do it. Like, there's so much valuable information that if we were running these campaigns right now to the students, we have the student media is going to be, is extremely high value target. I've had conversations with student media in Florida. We had one person come by in California during the Blitz Day Men. They did a story on us that they happened to be driving by and saw us. So anyways, those they tend to be more idealistic, more critical of culture, and they tend to be more less controlled by the maybe they're uppers, and what I'm saying is who owns the whatever newspaper they're working for. So they're less limited in what they can talk about. So I think it's a really, so if we had that system going to them right now, and even the professors right now, and we started focusing on the professors and the student groups, those two specific groups within the universities, the professors of sociology, cultural anthropology, psychology, philosophy, medical nurses, any type of medical education, any of those types of things, and then also the student groups. And we start running those campaigns now, we could literally change the social background of where these students are going to be, where we're going to be meeting them at. So that when we meet them the following year, there might be a little bit less resistance for them, a little bit easier for them to approach the subject. In fact, they might even find out about it from their professors and their instructors. There's going to be some professors out there that are going to be all on board with this, and they're going to go to town teaching their students this stuff if they get the information. Okay. There's people out there like us, so we just need to get this to them. And it is a numbers game. With any sales, it's a numbers game. And the more we do this, the more people we have involved, the more volunteers we have, the more people we reach, the more babies we save. And that's just the way it is. So it's going to be.
I agree. Like I said, I agree with you, Daniel. That's why I'm kind of shifting my focus to kind of growing this volunteer base, because I kind of see the amount of work it's going to take, and I know I'm not going to be able to accomplish all that as much as I would like to. I know you're not going to be able to. So I think I have a better idea on where I need to kind of maybe refocus my attention. If Brett could get me that information, I can kind of incorporate that, see how we can maybe utilize some of those students over the summer if they're not tied into a school schedule or something. Like I say, I'll give it a try. That's all I can do with you. If they express interest in you, I'll try to engage them in some way, connect them to your group, and figure out a way to grow our volunteer base.
Okay.
I think that kind of needs to be a priority right now. And like I said, there's enough Intactivists that are, I think, able to do this type of Intactivism. We're all on the line. For all of us that are online posting nonsense, we could be doing way more. So I think that we have a real possibility of engaging more. So if we could kind of divert our energy for the next few months to this, I think that we'll get there. So I'll continue to try to reach out to people I know. If you have suggestions, I'll reach out to them, provide me with that list. You kind of hear my idea. If you want to talk a little bit more about it another day other than now, before I do this outreach specifically to those people, I'm open to that. I can say things that you want me to say in those conversations, because I kind of want to have a full understanding of your mission too. And like I said, your schedule too. I kind of want to know what your schedule is going to be. So I can be sharing that and letting them know, hey, he's going to be on campus that day. We want to get your support. How can we get you involved? That's
Michelle is
what I want to do. So.
Wow.
Michelle is like my manager. She just runs shit.
Awesome.
She's in charge, right?
That's awesome.
She runs shit. So
that's fantastic. I need to come up with this.
She's got great ideas. She's go-getter, and she's
I'm trying to figure out how to roll this out. So I'm, like I say, I got, Sarah today. I'll continue to work through his list, work through yours, and try to get people re-engaged and try to get a format together. But I think to help your organization for this upcoming season, I think that's probably how we need to approach it, based on what we have and what we can quickly get worked out in a short amount of time to get you going. I think that's what we can do, because I think that what you're doing needs a lot more coverage, and this is a way to do it.
Yeah, Brett needs coverage. Real quick, I want you guys to, before I let you go, I'm going to send this, and I want you to share our last meeting, because let me grab it real quick. So this is something that I've been wanting to do is get, I think we're all on board here. So I want people that are here to share this. Let me get this copy link address. I'm going to put it in the notes. Okay. And
is that one where I'm visible?
Yeah, I
Is
want
that
you
one
guys.
line visible?
Oh, you are so great in that.
No, I am changing I'm going to get a background. I'm going to do something. No, I'm going to have to do my hair. It's late. Like I said, I'm getting ready for bed and you have me on film. Oh.
Okay, you got Sarah's email. We'll put the email
Yes.
together so we can send this to her. And then I'll contact you tomorrow, Michelle. I've got to run because I've got to do something anyways. I'm just going to shut it down. So I really appreciate you guys coming. Thank you, Brett, for coming. I'm glad you, I really wanted to get you involved.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I know Brett's got a lot of stuff going on. So anytime we can get him, we're lucky. So I really
I'll try to be here more often. I've been in like crisis mode for a few months here. But
well, I want to get some people sending you donations. Like I want people being aware of what you're doing. You know, one of the things is of NLI is not that we don't ask for donations. We want our members to all give donations. We just want them to give them to somebody that really needs the money. And you're somebody that really needs the money. And your system that you're creating is probably, in my opinion, one of the systems that will save the most children of Intactivism in the future, in my opinion. So if we work together, we can, in my opinion, we can vastly extend our reach for each other. Like I can help, we can run media campaigns for you. We can help you with, organizing your volunteers. We can work together in some sort of way to.
Yeah, I hope you'll think of Cockfight as a close partner of Next Level Intactivism. I mean,
absolutely.
You really could even think of it as like the college outreach branch,
right?
Of NLI. I want to do high schools. I believe it or not, I want to go to high school.
The parent-child interface. Gregory Malchik's parent-child interface is a very, very powerful leverage. It's a powerful way of developing leverage. And if you understand leverage, leverage is having power or influence over somebody by some other form than just, by some form, right? So leverage would be like, okay, I thought about this with the leverage with religious aspect. For instance, there's a lot of Bible verses that are against circumcision. Yet we have these priests that are not teaching these Bible verses. So we can go to them and say, look, you got to teach the whole Bible, man. It's written right here. You got to teach this. And this needs to be known. And this is not being known. And it's your responsibility. You have leverage over them because of what it's in the Bible, right? You don't personally have any control over them, but they're supposed to follow the Bible, right? So they have committed to it. So you can use that commitment from them.
That's a whole nother aspect of approach
we've experimented
with. We started going to mega churches. Did you know that?
Yeah, you did say something about that.
Yeah, we've been to a few mega churches already. Been experimenting, but we use a different brand. We don't use Cockfight.
No, Cockfight will not work at the church, right?
No, we made new signs that say Galatians 5. We own the URL galatians5.org. So we put galatians5.org at the bottom. And
hey guys, I've really got to run. I'm sorry.
Okay, me too.
But I've really got to run right now. So I'm gonna go. Do you guys want to stay on here and talk? You can. I'm gonna head downstairs. I just gotta take care of something. I'll be back. But
okay.
Feel free to have whatever conversation you want. You don't have to leave right away. Okay. I love you guys. Thank you guys for showing up.
All right.
Thank you, Bentley. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate all of you guys.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I'm not going to stay long either because it's so late. But Brett, I did capture your information, and I think that I have a idea to kind of help support you that is in line with what we're already doing. And I'll connect with you, I guess, when your time permits to gather that information.
Send me your info. So contact me so I have your info.
Definitely, I'll send it in the email.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it might even make sense for NLI and Cockfight to merge, so we can just all use the same volunteers, to help the same effort. It just like Cockfight could be like one, the college outreach brand, you know, and
It will
NLI
be.
is like
I
the Intactivist
that's what
volunteer brand, right? Or the
I think that it'll kind of be that arm of it. I
Yeah.
think it'll definitely be, and I think that we will develop this strategy,
we
like I
even
say,
have
for
a
all college campuses. I think we'll eventually distribute all this same information, all the college campuses, all the student organizations, all the heads of departments, nursing programs, medical departments, you know, psychology departments. I think that we will get to that point, but I think it's important right now for you because, again, you're getting out here and you're doing this work, and we need more people to get involved locally right now. So I think to quickly kind of launch your piece of it, we're going to see quicker results from launching that because you're actually in the front lines in those communities also. So we're piggybacking off of each other's work in a sense, and we're helping support you, and then you're coming and reinforcing that men are speaking out, so they're seeing it in their face. I see that let's try it this season. Let's try it this football season, see how it works. If it works, the off season, we build every campus up around the community, you know, around the country up like this. We get students involved, you know, in the off season, and we can grow it. I definitely agree. I'm with you. I think anything that is targeting young people at this point, prior to when they're getting ready to have a baby or even contemplate we gotta influence them here.
Yeah, we
We gotta influence them here. And I would like to do it at the high school level, but we're not there yet. So right now, this is you have the next recipe. Daniel has the next recipe for the professionals in our country that don't want to have ethical standards. You have the recipe, I think, for reaching the young people. And I think that's where we need to be. That's where Intactivism needs to go. Whatever the hell's been going on. Like I said, I don't know how the hell for the life of me, don't know how the fuck circumcision is still surviving in 2021.
The string to mark the proper location.
Circumcision denies a male's right to genital integrity and to a fully functioning penis.
Near the string that is placed to mark the proper location. Then we clap it.